Most people think the reason they stay poor is because they don't earn enough money. I used to believe that too. It sounds logical. If income is low, life stays small, so the solution must be to make more, work more, try harder, push longer. But over the years, I realized something that completely changed the way I see the world. Low income is not the problem. Low income is the gravity. And once you understand that, everything starts to make sense. I have seen people get raises and still stay broke. I have seen people double their salary and feel even more trapped. I have seen people work 2 jobs and somehow fall further behind. That should not be possible. If effort solved poverty, the hardest working people on earth would be rich. They are not. So the real question is not, how do I make more money? The real question is, why do I keep falling back down? This is the physics of the poverty loop. Imagine a rocket trying to leave Earth. It does not matter how expensive the rocket is. It does not matter how hard the engineers worked. If the rocket does not reach escape velocity, gravity wins. Not slowly, not gently. It falls back. This is exactly how the poverty loop works. You save a little, something breaks. You recover, rent goes up. You try again. Your energy drops. Your motivation drops. Your options shrink. And every time you fall, the next launch becomes harder. That is the first law of the poverty loop. Gravity gets stronger the longer you stay inside it. Most people never understand this because they think poverty is about numbers. It is not. It is about force. There is a minimum force required to escape the system, and most people never generate it. Not because they are lazy, not because they are stupid, because the loop drains fuel faster than they can produce it. This is the first loop. I call it the survival gravity. When you live in low income for too long, your life becomes reactive. You stop thinking in years. You start thinking in days, sometimes hours, sometimes minutes. Your brain switches from strategy mode to survival mode, and survival mode is expensive. There was a study from behavioral economics that showed something disturbing. When financial stress increases, cognitive bandwidth drops. Your brain literally loses processing power. Not metaphorically, mathematically. It is like trying to run modern software on an old computer. You freeze. You delay decisions. You choose short-term relief over long-term gain. Not because you want to, because your system cannot handle the load. This is the survival gravity loop. Low income creates stress. Stress reduces thinking capacity. Reduced thinking creates bad decisions. Bad decisions keep income low. Round and round, closed system. Most people try to escape by pushing harder inside the same loop. Second job, overtime, more hours, less sleep. It feels like progress. It is not. Linear effort cannot break exponential gravity. That is the rule. And this is where most people make the first fatal mistake. They try to build wealth before they stop the bleeding. I learned this the hard way. Years ago, I thought investing was the answer, so I started putting money into the market while my life was still unstable. 1 month later, my car broke down. 2 months later, my rent increased. 3 months later, I had to sell everything I invested. Not because the investment was bad, because my foundation was weak. That is when I understood the first framework of escape, the buffer law. Before you try to fly, you must survive the launch. Your first goal is not wealth. Your first goal is stability, not a big number, not a dream house, not passive income, a buffer. 500, 1,000, maybe 2,000, enough so that one problem does not destroy your entire system. This sounds small. It sounds boring. It is not. That buffer buys something more valuable than money. It buys cognitive bandwidth. When your car breaks and you still have cash, your brain stays calm. When rent goes up and you can handle it, your brain stays clear. When life hits you and you do not panic, you keep control. Control is fuel. Fuel is escape velocity. Most people never reach escape velocity because every time they get close, panic drains the tank. This is why the poverty loop feels permanent. Not because the door is locked, because the launch keeps failing. Here is your first assignment. Not complicated, not motivational, mathematical. For the next 30 days, your only mission is to create separation between you and emergency. No upgrades, no status spending, no comfort spending, only survival and buffer. You are not being cheap. You are building thrust. Most people will not do this. They will say life is too hard. They will say they deserve small pleasures. They will say saving is impossible. That is the gravity talking. And gravity always sounds reasonable. But this is only the first loop. Because even if you build a buffer, there is another force waiting for you. A stronger one. More emotional. More addictive. More dangerous. This is the loop that pulls people back right after they start rising. I call it the dopamine loop. And this is where most escape attempts die. Now we enter the second loop. This one is more dangerous than survival gravity because survival attacks your wallet. This one attacks your brain. I call this the dopamine loop. Most people think poor decisions come from lack of discipline. I used to think that too. It sounds clean. It sounds logical. If people just stopped wasting money, they would escape. But the longer I watched real life, the more I realized something uncomfortable. Spending is not always about pleasure. Spending is often about pain relief. When you live inside the poverty loop, your stress level never turns off. Bills, deadlines, rent, repairs, pressure, comparison, exhaustion. Your brain stays in fight or flight mode. And a brain in survival mode does not want freedom, it wants relief. That is the key difference. Freedom is long-term, relief is immediate. And the human brain is wired to choose immediate reward when stress is high. This is not weakness, this is biology. When you buy something new, your brain releases dopamine. For a few minutes, the pressure disappears. For a few minutes, you feel in control. For a few minutes, life feels bigger than your problems. Then the moment passes, but the cost stays. This is the dopamine loop. Pain, go spending, gay relief, gay regret, more pain. Closed system. And here is the brutal truth most people never say out loud. The lower your income, the stronger this loop becomes. Because when your life feels small, every purchase feels like expansion. New phone, better shoes, eating out subscriptions, upgrades. Not because you are careless, because your brain is trying to breathe. I learned this the hard way. There was a period where my income was low, but my stress was high. Every time I felt overwhelmed, I told myself I deserved something small. Nothing crazy, just something to feel normal. But when I looked at my bank statements months later, I saw the pattern. Not one big mistake, hundreds of small ones. Each one felt harmless. Together they killed momentum. That is the second law of the poverty loop. Small leaks sink the rocket, not explosions, not disasters, leaks. And the system around you is designed to create leaks. Notifications, sales, upgrades, new models, limited offers, easy payments, buy now, pay later. Everything is built to keep your dopamine high and your balance low, because a person chasing relief never builds escape velocity. This is why the second framework matters. I call it monk mode. Not forever, temporary, strategic, controlled isolation from unnecessary spending. Most people think monk mode means suffering. It does not. It means rewiring your reward system. For a period of time, you remove every purchase that does not help survival or escape. No upgrades, no luxury, no impulse spending, no emotional spending. Food, shelter, transport, learning, buffer. That is it. At first, your brain will fight you. You will feel bored. You will feel behind. You will feel like everyone else is moving forward while you stand still. This is the withdrawal phase. Your brain is detoxing from instant reward. Most people quit here. This is the filter, not intelligence, not talent, tolerance for discomfort. If you survive this phase, something strange happens. Your brain changes. You stop needing new things to feel good. You start feeling good watching your numbers grow. You start feeling control again. Control becomes the new dopamine, and control creates fuel. Fuel creates thrust. Thrust creates escape velocity. But right here, right when people start gaining control, the great filter appears. This is where most people fall back. Not because life gets harder, because life gets easier. You get a raise, you get a bonus, you pay off a debt, you finally have breathing room. And your brain says one sentence that destroys everything. I deserve this. New car, better apartment, more eating out, more comfort, more upgrades. Lifestyle inflation, this is the great filter of the poverty loop. Income goes up, expenses follow. Gravity stays the same. Most people never escape because every time their engine gets stronger, they add more weight. Not forced, chosen. Ego wants proof of progress. Discipline wants momentum. Ego buys status. Discipline buys freedom. And this moment decides everything. I have seen people cross this point and never come back. They were close. Closer than they realized. Then comfort replaced pressure. And pressure was the only thing pushing them upward. Remember this line. Escape velocity requires sacrifice longer than your ego likes. Most people stop one step before orbit. But even if you survive the dopamine loop, even if you beat lifestyle inflation, there is another force waiting. This one is mathematical, cold, silent, unemotional, and it traps people for decades without them noticing. I call this the linear income loop. And this is where the majority of lives get locked. Now we enter the third loop. This one does not feel like a trap. It feels like responsibility. It feels like maturity. It feels like doing the right thing. That is why it is so dangerous. I call this the linear income loop. Most people are taught one equation for life. Time equals money. Work more hours, earn more income, fix your problems. Simple, logical, completely wrong for escaping poverty. Linear income can help you survive. It cannot help you escape. Because time is finite. You get 24 hours, not 25, not 30, not more when you need it. Your income has a ceiling the moment it depends on hours. Your expenses do not. This is the part most people never calculate. Income grows in a straight line. Costs grow exponentially. Rent goes up, food goes up, fuel goes up, insurance goes up, medical goes up, your salary moves slowly, your life moves fast. This is not bad luck. This is physics. And once you understand this, you stop asking why you feel stuck. You start asking why the system was designed this way. When you sell time, you are on a treadmill. Speed increases. Distance stays the same. This is the linear income trap. I lived in this loop longer than I want to admit. I thought working harder meant moving forward. So I added hours, then more hours, then weekends. My income increased. My freedom did not. In fact, I felt more trapped because now my lifestyle depended on that income. I could not slow down. I could not stop. I could not risk anything. That is the hidden cost of linear income. It removes flexibility. And without flexibility, you cannot generate escape velocity. A rocket cannot leave the ground if it is chained to the launch pad. Most people never see the chain. They call it stability. This is the third law of the poverty loop. Security without leverage becomes a cage. You need income to live. But if all your income depends on hours, the loop stays closed. This is where the second framework appears. I call it the skill stack engine. Most people try to become excellent at one thing. One job, one skill, one role. That works for survival, not for escape. Escape requires asymmetry. You need something that can grow without taking more hours from you. That does not mean you quit your job. It means you stop relying on one dimension. You stack skill 1, skill 2, skill 3. Not perfect, useful. When skills combine, value multiplies. A worker who knows labor stays replaceable. A worker who knows labor and sales becomes rare. A worker who knows labor, sales, and negotiation becomes dangerous. The market pays for rarity, not effort. This is the math most people never learn. Effort is linear. Value is exponential. Let me give you a small story. I knew a guy who worked in construction. Hard worker, reliable, always busy. For years his income stayed the same. Then he learned estimating, not a degree, just a skill. Now he could talk to clients. Now he could price jobs. Now he could manage work instead of only doing work. Same person, different stack. Income changed. Hours didn't double. That is the engine. Not luck, not talent, leverage. This is your assignment for this loop. Not more hours, more dimensions. Ask yourself one question. If my job disappeared tomorrow, what else could I sell? If the answer is nothing, gravity owns you. If the answer is one thing, gravity still owns you. If the answer is 2 or 3 things, now you have thrust. Most people never do this. They stay in the same role for 10 years, same skills, same pay structure, same ceiling. They feel safe. They are stuck. And right when someone starts building new skills, right when income finally has a chance to detach from time, another force appears. Stronger than math, stronger than stress, stronger than habit. People. This is the fourth loop. The one almost nobody escapes. I call it social gravity. And this is where most rockets get pulled back to the ground. Now we enter the fourth loop. This one does not show up on your bank statement. It does not show up in your paycheck. It does not show up in your budget. It shows up in the people around you. I call this social gravity. Most people think money problems are personal. Income, skills, opportunities. But over the years, I noticed something strange. People with the same job, same salary, same city, end up in completely different lives. One builds momentum. One stays stuck. One slowly escapes. One keeps restarting. The difference is rarely intelligence. It is environment. Human beings are not independent systems. We are copying machines. We copy language. We copy habits. We copy beliefs. We copy limits. Your brain is constantly sensing with the people around you. Not consciously. Automatically. This is the social gravity loop. If the people around you think survival is normal, you accept survival. If the people around you think debt is normal, you accept debt. If the people around you think escape is impossible, your brain stops trying. Not because you are weak, because your nervous system wants safety. Belonging feels safer than freedom. And the poverty loop uses this against you. There is a pattern I have seen again and again. Someone decides to change. They save money. They stop spending. They start learning. They start thinking differently, and suddenly the resistance begins. Friends joke about it. Family questions it. Coworkers criticize it. Why are you acting different? Relax. Life is short. You think you're better than us. That won't work anyway. This is not evil. This is gravity. When one person tries to leave the loop, everyone else feels the tension because your escape forces them to see their cage. So the system pulls you back, not with force, with comfort. This is the crab bucket effect. One crab can climb out, but when many are in the bucket, they pull each other down. Not because they hate each other, because none of them know another world exists. This is why social gravity is stronger than financial gravity. Money problems you can solve with math. Environment problems require identity change, and identity change is painful. I learned this the hard way. There was a time when I realized the people around me were not bad people, but they were not going where I wanted to go. Every conversation was the same. Complaints, excuses, blame, short-term thinking. At first, I tried to stay the same and still move forward. It didn't work. Because your brain averages your environment. That is the fourth law of the poverty loop. You become the mean of your inputs. 5 voices around you. 5 directions pulling you. You cannot build escape velocity while being pulled sideways. So the fourth framework becomes necessary. Ruthless mental isolation. Not arrogance. Not hatred. Protection. You do not need to fight everyone. You need to control what enters your mind. Less noise. More signal. Less complaining. More learning. Less reacting. More planning. You may not be able to change your neighborhood, but you can change your inputs. Books, lectures, podcasts, biographies. People who think in decades, not weekends. When you change your inputs, your internal world changes. When your internal world changes, your decisions change. When decisions change, trajectory changes. This is how rockets leave atmosphere. Not instantly, gradually. But here is the part most people never expect. Right after you separate from your old environment, right after your thinking starts changing, right after momentum begins, the final loop appears. This one is silent. No stress, no arguments, no drama, just math. Cold math. I call it the compound void. And this is the loop that decides who stays in poverty for life and who never goes back. Now we enter the fifth loop. This is the one nobody feels at the beginning. No pain, no noise, no warning, just slow, silent math. I call this the compound void. Most people think poverty happens because they don't earn enough, but long-term poverty usually happens because compounding is working against them instead of for them. Compounding is not motivation. It is not mindset. It is physics. Small forces, repeated for years, become unstoppable. If the force is positive, life expands. If the force is negative, life contracts. There is no neutral. You are either earning compound interest or paying it. And the difference between those two paths decides everything. When you pay interest, time becomes your enemy. When you earn interest, time becomes your partner. Most people in the poverty loop live on the wrong side of this equation for decades. Credit cards, loans, car payments, buy now, pay later, minimum payments. It feels manageable in the moment, but the math never sleeps. A 20% interest rate does not care how tired you are. It does not care how hard you work. It does not care what you deserve. It grows every day, every month, every year. This is the compound void. You are moving forward in life, but the math is pulling backward faster than you walk. I learned this lesson later than I should have. There was a time when I thought debt was normal. Everyone had it. Everyone managed it. Everyone said it was part of life. Then I calculated the real cost, not the monthly payment, the total time. Years of work for things I no longer even owned. That was the moment I understood the fifth law of the poverty loop. If compounding works against you, effort cannot save you. You can work harder. You can work longer. You can sacrifice more. But negative compounding eats everything. This is why escape requires crossing a line, not emotionally, mathematically. You must move from paying interest to earning interest, from liabilities to assets, from consumption to accumulation. This is where most people fail the final filter, not because they don't know what to do, because the results are slow, very slow. At first, saving feels pointless. Investing feels small. Progress feels invisible. Your brain wants proof. Compounding gives silence. This is why almost nobody stays consistent long enough. They want speed. The system rewards patience. This is the escape velocity stage. Stage 1, survival. Stop the bleeding. Build the buffer. Stabilize the system. Stage 2, accumulation. Small investments. Consistent deposits. Ignore noise. Trust math. Stage 3, orbit. This is the moment most people never reach. The moment when your assets start carrying part of your life. Not all, just some. But once that happens, gravity weakens. Every dollar working for you is fuel you don't have to burn. Every asset is thrust. Every year of consistency increases velocity. And one day, without drama, without fireworks, you realize something changed. You are not trapped anymore. You have options. Options are freedom. Freedom is escape velocity. Most people never see this moment because they quit too early. They stop during monk mode. They stop during skill building. They stop during isolation. They stop during accumulation. Not because the plan failed, because the loop convinced them it would. Now step back for a second. Look at the full system. Scarcity gravity, dopamine loop, linear income trap, social gravity, compound void. 5 forces, not advice, physics. You don't break them with motivation. You break them with structure. And here is the part I want you to think about carefully. 10 years from now, your life will not be decided by one big decision. It will be decided by which loop you stayed in. If you stay in survival, life stays small. If you stay in dopamine, money disappears. If you stay in linear income, time disappears. If you stay in social gravity, ambition disappears. If you stay in the compound void, years disappear. But if you break all 5, everything changes. Not instantly, permanently. Picture yourself at 60. Not the version you hope for, the version your current trajectory creates. Same habits, same loops, same decisions. That future is not random, it is already forming. Every day you stay inside the loop, gravity tightens. Every day you push against it, velocity builds. Most people will watch this and do nothing. Not because they don't understand, because escape requires discomfort longer than comfort feels safe. If you understood this video, you are already different, not better, not special, just aware. And awareness is where escape begins. If you are serious about leaving the poverty loop, write this in the comments. I choose escape velocity. Not for me, for yourself. Because once you say it, you know the system. And once you see the system, you can never pretend you don't. Thanks for watching.